Welcome, yogis. I'm so excited that you decided to join me today. Today we have a special class. We are going to be doing a lot of core work, a lot of yogi sit-ups, if you will. As always, please do what is best for your body. Take breaks as you need it. Find child's pose when you need it. Challenge yourself, but also honor yourself if you need to rest. So we are going to start today on our backs. Sweet little kitty came to explore and see how I was doing. Always brings a smile to my face. You can have the knees raised, or you can open up the knees, bring the soles of the feet together, whatever's comfortable for your hips, and bring your hands, one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly button, and start to lengthen your breath. Nice long breaths. Noticing the rise and fall under your hands. Start to breathe a little deeper. Noticing a little bit more expansion on the inhale. And then pushing the air out with intention as you exhale. Continue to keep the breaths balanced. Same amount of time on your inhale, same amount of time on your exhale. While we continue to breathe, this is a great time to set an intention, especially if you find core work challenging or invigorating. Take a few breaths to instill that intention in your practice. One more breath here, and then on your next exhale, we're going to bring the knees up to the Pilates version of table. With a 90-degree angle at your knees, a 90-degree angle at your hips, squeezing the lower abs, pressing the lower back into the ground, adding a block in between the knees. And then gently drop the heels and tap them on the ground. So the 90-degree angle with your knees stays the same. You're really focusing on exhaling and squeezing the belly to bring the knees back up. Try to keep the lower back connected to the ground. And then take your block out if you had it and wrap around your shins. Just a quick break. Put that block back in between the knees and roll yourself up to boat. Gently rolling back down, trying to keep the bottom half now still. So first we tapped the heels and we kept the upper body still on the ground. Now we're trying to keep the lower body as still as possible as you curl up and down. Release the block and again rest by squeezing the knees towards the chest, relaxing the head on the ground. If you like, you can always rock side to side. This time, let's take the block in between our feet. So we're going to use that lower body as a lever, dropping the feet down and coming back up to our starting position. Again, really focusing on the exhale, using the exhale to squeeze and pull the legs back up to starting. Not relying on our hip flexors. You will use your hip flexors by the default, but we really want to focus on challenging ourselves and using those lower belly muscles. Another rest here. And then we're going to do the same thing as before, except with extended legs. Oh, a little bit more challenging. Trying to keep the legs as still as possible, rolling up to boat and back down. Release back down and rest. Maybe rock side to side. If you find your hip flexors are just really tired, you can push up into bridge and stretch them out. or you could always open up the knees go ahead and give yourself a few rocks up and down the spine, massaging out the vertebrae. Eventually coming back to boat, finding your balance, lengthening through the spine. And then when you're ready, cross the ankles and roll over, stepping or jumping into plank. On an exhale, slowly lower yourself to the ground, dropping all the way to the ground, and then coming up into cobra. Release. Bring the fingertips wide, coming into cobra again, lengthening the front of the body, stretching it out after that core work. Release back down. And then on your next breath, come up into up dog, and exhale, squeeze as you push back to down dog, using the abs to transition, not necessarily the hip flexors. Feel free to walk out your dog. Maybe you'd like to keep your knees slightly bent, roll the tailbone towards the sky. Whatever feels good for you. One more breath. And on your next exhale, we're going to gently step forward, finding your forward fold. Inhale, flat back, and exhale, relax the head. Let the weight of the head pull you forward. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart center. Inhale, grow tall, lengthen the spine. Exhale, dive forward. Folding and curving the last moment. Inhale back to a flat back. And exhale, release. Stepping back to plank, lowering yourself down to the floor. One more time. Up to cobra. And release. Fingertips tent out to the sides, coming up to cobra again. Maybe a slightly bigger back bend, and release. Hands come back to your rib cage, coming up to up dog, and then pushing back to down dog, using your core to make that transition. Inhale, one foot comes up, keep the hips square, reach through the heel, and then on an exhale, bring it to the front of the mat. Back heel to the ground, warrior one. Reach through the fingertips, nice long spine. Maybe challenging your balance, taking your gaze up towards the sky. Continue to square the hips to stretch out the hip flexor. Exhale, come back down and step to plank, flowing through your vinyasa. Inhaling, opening the heart, opening the front of the body. Exhale, down dog. Opposite foot lifts up, reach through that heel. And then exhale, bring it through, right in between the wrists, knee right on top of the ankle, finding warrior one, making sure you square your hips towards the front of the mat to stretch out that hip flexor, because as much as we want to focus on core today, you will supplement those exercises using your hips, whether you want to or not. Release the hands back down and step to plank, flowing through your vinyasa. You can always do cobra here instead of up dog if that feels better for you. Finding down dog. Breathing here, lengthening out the spine, especially the lower back. Letting the heels naturally sink towards the ground. On your next breath, start to tilt forward, maybe a little hop, crossing over the legs and finding boat. You can skip the hop, just step if you want. Find boat and hold. Lengthen through the spine. And then slowly round down, as slow as you can. Find your block once again and place it in between the same elbow and knee. So we're kind of doing bicycle crunches here, except really focusing on one side at a time. I love this because you have to work overtime to keep that block connected between your stationary knee and elbow. It's much more challenging than you expect. Really helps to isolate the obliques on that side. Go ahead and take a moment to rest. Wrap the block around your shins. Rock side to side if that feels good. And then when you're ready, take the block in between the other knee and elbow. The arm and leg that are moving, try to create a lot of length, a lot of stretching when you extend out. So ab work is not just about the contraction, it's also about lengthening as much as possible. A few more here, working with your breath, and then release the head, wrap around the shins, relax. Put the block over to one side and go ahead and give yourself a few more rocks, up and down, massaging out the back. Trying to pause and use your core strength to balance at the top of each rock, and then find boat once more. Roll the shoulders away from the ears and down the back. And then cross the ankles and jump or step to plank, whatever works for you. And slowly come down all the way to the mat. I love these back bends without jumping right into a vinyasa because it feels amazing to stretch out the abs after the core work. When you're ready, hands come back to your rib cage, pushing up into up dog, and then exhale, squeeze with the abs, down dog. Inhale, and on your exhale, jump forward. Inhale to flat back, exhale, release, and then inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, squeeze the belly button to the spine. Inhale. Exhale over to one side, half moon, stretching out the sides, back to center, and then to the other side, back to center. Release and dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, jump or step to plank or chaturanga, coming up into up dog. Exhaling back, down dog. One foot comes up, hips stay square, reach through the heel, and then exhale, squeeze to the same elbow. Inhale, exhale, squeeze to the same elbow, using those obliques. Inhale up, exhale, squeeze. Inhale, reach and stretch it out. Exhale, knee to the elbow. Inhale, lengthen, long lines. Exhale, inhale, lengthen. And exhale this time, bring it all the way through. And windmill the hands up, coming into warrior two. Still creating a little bit of a stretch in the hip flexor, even though your hips are now open to the side of the mat. Exhale, reverse warrior. Keep that front leg deep in its bend. We have a tendency to want to straighten the front leg, keep it bent. Now you can go ahead and extend. Coming into triangle, so reach as far as you can to the front of the mat, get a lot of length in that bottom side, and then let the hand drop, just kind of where it falls. Maybe you hold on to your ankle, or maybe you float. Exhale, come back to warrior two, and then windmill the hands all the way around. Step to plank and slowly flow through your vinyasa. Squeezing the core to come to down dog. Really focusing on that. Other side, inhale, reach the heel up. Exhale, knee to the same elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen the side. Exhale, contract that side. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, bring it all the way through. Give yourself enough room, so if you need to wiggle the toes forward to make sure that your knee is right on top of the ankle, that's perfectly fine. Adjust so that your legs have enough room to open up the hips. Exhale, reverse your warrior. Open up the front of the body, that front side. Keep the knee bent. And then on your inhale, extend the leg and shift forward, reaching through the front fingertips and then letting them float towards the ankle, towards the ground. Rest on your shin, grab a block, or challenge your core and float the fingertips right next to the ankle. Bend the knee and come back to warrior two. Inhale and exhale, release. Rolling down, stepping to plank and flowing through your vinyasa. Really focusing on that core, opening in up dog and contracting to get to down dog. Nice long spine in down dog. No rush here. Take a few breaths. Enjoy the stretch in the back of the legs. Enjoy the lengthening of the spine. Pressing the fingertips to the ground to protect your wrists. And then when you're ready, try a hop through or gently bring the legs forward and roll over the crossed ankles back into boat pose. Strong core, making sure you're not collapsing into the pose. And then roll down one vertebrae at a time. Grab your block once more. And this time, we're going to press the opposite elbow to the knee, holding the block there. So the upper body's pretty stationary, reaching the free leg out, getting lots of extension, and then squeezing with the abs to come back to center or come back to that starting position. So even more than before, when we were doing the same arm and knee, this should really target your obliques. Any twisting movement is when you use your obliques. Go ahead and rest. A lot of people think side bending uses your obliques, and it helps you maybe stabilize, but that's technically a different muscle group in your lower back. Twisting is the best thing for your obliques because your obliques cross across the body. So opposite side now, reaching out with that leg, pressing the block to the knee, using your elbow, using your obliques. If you notice a lot of back pain when you're doing oblique work, it's probably because you're doing a little too much emphasis on that side to side movement. Relax, block on your shins. You can give yourself a rock side to side if that feels good on the spine. And then set the block to one side. A couple of rocks, 2, 3, 4, however many feel good for you. Pausing at the top of each rock, using your core to create that balance. And then finding boat pose. Just hang out in boat for a moment or two. And then we're going to cross the ankles, roll over the ankles, and find plank once more. From plank, lower yourself to the ground, and then inhale up to cobra. Release back down. Tend to the fingertips wide and come up a little bit deeper, cobra, more of a back bend. And then hands come back to your ribs and inhale to up dog. Exhale, squeeze with the core, back to down dog. Breathe and lengthen through the lower back, through the tailbone, reaching your sit bones towards the sky. Nice long line from your fingertips out through the tailbone. On an exhale, jump or step the feet forward, forward fold, inhaling flat back. Exhale, releasing the head back down, and then inhale, rising up. Exhale, squeeze the belly button to your spine, hands to your heart. Inhale, grow tall, and then exhale, use the core to twist. One hand towards the front, one hand towards the back, inhaling center and twisting to the other side. Since there's no leverage here, you have to use the strength of the core. Inhale back up. Exhale, release all the way to your toes, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release, and jump or step back, flowing through your vinyasa. Once you're in down dog, inhale, one foot comes up. And this time we're going to squeeze across the body, so knee to the opposite elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale, across. Inhale. Exhale. It's okay if it doesn't touch the elbow. Keep squeezing under the body using the obliques. Inhale. Exhale. Tap the knee to the elbow. Inhale. Exhale. Bring it all the way through. And we're going to come up to warrior one. And then we're going to try a twist here. So if this is uncomfortable on your knee, you can pop up onto the ball of the back foot. Otherwise, you can try a prayer twist. Squeeze with the core. Create a little bit of space for your spine to be able to twist. Inhale, extend the leg, extend the arms, revolve triangle. Square the hips as much as you can. That's the key in revolve triangle. Come back to warrior one, taking a breath here, and release to the ground. Step back to plank and flow through that vinyasa. Can be up dog, or you can stick with cobra. And then we're going to do our twists on the other side. So inhale, the opposite leg comes up, and squeeze it across the body. Inhale. Exhale, tap the knee to the opposite elbow. Inhale. Exhale, use the core. You want to try to aim for beyond the elbow, a little bit more towards the tricep or the shoulder. And again, it's okay if you don't quite get there. We're just using the strength to twist. Go ahead and bring that foot through. We'll find warrior one on the other side first. Exhale, palms come together. Prayer twist, hooking the elbow across that knee. Opposite elbow to knee. Popping up onto the ball of the back foot if you need to. Breathe. Maybe try to look towards the sky to challenge your balance. And then we're going to extend the front leg and come into revolve triangle. Always feel free to grab a block here if you need it, or bring the hand to the inside of the foot. But continue to focus on squaring the hips and then squeezing with the core. Come back to warrior one. And then release the hands to the ground and inhale, step to plank. Exhale. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. And breathe. We're not rushing through these down dogs. Take a few breaths. Lengthen the body. If you're feeling a lot of compression in the shoulders, you can relax into child's pose instead. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and hop forward, coming to a seated position. If jump throughs are in your practice, awesome. Otherwise, you can just cross the ankles and gently roll back, but we're all going to find boat pose here. And then we're going to go into a core sequence that should help you with your arm balances. Roll down with control, bring the knees to your chest and relax. Trust me, you're going to want to take this time to recover. Release the feet to the ground and extend the arms to the sky, just like you would if you were in crow pose. And then squeeze the knees towards your upper back of your arms, upper tricep. Use the lower belly, use your bandhas, just like you would in crow pose. Release, and then side crow. So, knees come to the opposite tricep. Squeeze across the body, use your obliques. Pretend you're in that arm balance. Release. Opposite side. Knees come as high up on that tricep as you can. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And go ahead and release. Whew. Okay. So now we're going to split the legs. Reach through that split. Look familiar? It's Ekapada Kundinyasana. Go ahead and release, and then we'll do it on the other side. So you're strengthening all those muscles that you would use if you were going to try this arm balance. Relax. So now let's try it again, but the twisted version. So the legs are split, opposite tricep to that floating knee. Squeeze across and relax. Split the legs again and exhale, squeeze. Use the obliques. Reach, reach, reach. And go ahead and release. We're going to relax for just a breath. Split the legs and squeeze through the legs, creating the shape of my favorite arm balance, Situpasana. And release. Ugh, my wrists kind of hurt just from creating that shape. So roll them out if yours do too. And then roll out the spine. Back and forth, balancing in boat. Just for a moment, trying to create control rather than momentum. All right, find boat. Roll out the wrists a little bit more if you need to. Even if they aren't bothering you, maybe it just feels good. And then cross the ankles and roll over the ankles into plank. Nice flat body as you come down through chaturanga, releasing to the ground and inhaling up to cobra. Release again. Tense the fingers and come up, stretching out to the abs. Release back down. And on the next inhale, come all the way up to up dog. The difference being the knees are off the ground. And then exhale, down dog. Take a breath or two here. Create that length. Squeeze with the quads to lengthen the legs and drive the heels to the ground. And then on your next exhale, come back to forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release the head and neck and jump or step back and flow through your vinyasa. Take a breath in down dog, and then we're going to walk our feet to the outside edges of the mat and walk your hands back and gently drop the hips down, coming into a yogi squat. I like to rock side to side, allow my hips to open up and sink down. Hands can come to prayer in front of your heart. And then let's open up to one side. So the hand reaches around the shin towards the ground, floating hand around your back. And then maybe you grasp, maybe not. Either way, continue to open up the heart, rolling that top shoulder towards the sky. And then release the bind, coming back into that squat, and then gently walking forward to down dog. Inhale, one foot comes up, and exhale, bring it all the way through, coming up to warrior one. Reaching through the fingertips, and then rolling all the way back down to the ground, and flowing through your vinyasa. Coming back to down dog, and again, feet come wide towards the edges of your mat. Feel free to bring them even wider if you need to, and walk the hands back. Toes can point out as well, if that's comfortable for you. And then start to rock the hips down, coming into your Yogi Squat again, rocking side to side, getting comfortable. And then for me, I felt a little less comfortable on this side, so I decided to grab my block and put it underneath my hips so that I could sit a little bit more deeply and open the hips more, but also have that support. Open up the hands to the other side, and we're going to try a bind around the other knee. Again, you can just keep the arms open if that works for you. Otherwise, wrap around the shin, wrap around the back, and try to grab hold. Breathe and open up the top shoulder, rolling it back, gaze towards the sky, and then release the bind. Come up off your block and walk your hands back towards the front of the mat, back to down dog. Inhale, opposite foot comes up, reaching through the heel, and then exhale in between the hands, coming up to warrior one. Reach through the fingertips, long, strong arms, and then release down, step back and flow through chaturanga. Inhaling up dog, shoulders away from the ears, and then exhale down dog. And staying here, reaching the tailbone towards the sky, and then walking back one more time. This time we are going to go into an arm balance. We're going to attempt Vasana. So hands come behind the ankles and sit the thighs on the triceps, maybe trying to lift the feet up off the ground. First, just try to balance, and then see if you can lift one leg. It's okay if you need to keep the other toes on the ground. Oop, and fall down. At least with this arm balance, it is an easy fall. I do not like crow because I would prefer to fall on my butt than on my face, but to each their own. So in forward fold, stretch out your wrists, pressing the palms up, and then let's try it one more time. So hands come behind the ankles, sit the weight onto the triceps, squeeze the core, try to pull the belly button towards the spine, and then maybe pick up the opposite foot. Lovely. Bring it back down, and then however you need to shift to get out of it, come back to a forward fold. Stretch the wrists, palms up, pushing the wrists into the ground. Maybe a little sway side to side. And then walk your hands back towards the front of your mat, coming into down dog. Lengthen through the tailbone, and then when you're ready, exhale, jump to a seated position. All right, you ready for some more core? Let's find boat pose. We have quite a little bit of core here, back to back. Roll the shoulders down the back, away from the ears and boat pose so that you don't collapse. And then go ahead and come down onto the ground, knees towards your chest. Keep one knee towards your chest, extending the other leg. Make sure you have enough room. I'm just a smidge too tall for my yoga area. While lying on your back, reach through that extended leg, stretch out your hip flexor, and then we're going to extend the floating leg. Gently pulling it towards your chest, just easing it open, and then engage your core and come up off the ground. Reach the arms over the head And then exhale, squeeze a little bit more as you reach towards that bottom foot. And then towards one side. Inhale, lengthen. Center. Inhale. Open side. And that extended leg can be on the ground, or you can barely see here. I have mine hovering off the ground for a little bit more of a challenge. And we're just working side to side, center, using those lower belly muscles and your obliques. Go ahead and relax for a moment, and then grab your block just for fun. Bring it behind the ankle, stretch it out. Reach with that bottom leg. My knee is just a little too high off the ground. Try to plant that knee, back of the knee into the ground. Come up again. We're going to do the same thing except now with the block. And the block seems so light, but just the teeniest, tiniest bit of extra weight can make this much more challenging. So, side, inhale, lengthen, center, lengthen, other side. Using that exhale as you come up each time and contract. Give the back of the leg one more stretch and then release back down. Opposite side. Bring your knee towards your chest, lengthen the other leg, stretch out the hip flexor, press the back of the knee towards the ground. Enjoy the stretch here before we go into more core work. Stretch out the hip flexor. Should feel really good after you did the work on the other side. And now extend the floating leg. Little hamstring stretch to start. And then when you're ready, engage the core and come up off the ground. Again, the extended leg can float if you'd like that extra challenge. Over the head and then towards one side. Over, other side, inhaling as you lengthen, and exhale to come up. Use that exhale, the natural contraction of the abs. Work with your body as you come up each time. And rest, bringing the knee towards your chest, and then grabbing your block behind the ankle, stretching the legs in opposite directions, as though you are going to do the splits in the air. And this is our rest. And then we're going to do the same thing, except with the block in our hands. So inhale over the head, exhale to one side, inhale, toe tap, inhale, other side, lengthening as much as you can. Even when you come up to one side, really stretch out the side body and reach and lengthen the side that's not contracting. And relax, one final stretch. Release all the way to the ground, knees come to the chest. Rock side to side if that feels good. And then roll back up to boat pose. And we're going to take a couple of rolls, using control and pausing in boat pose each time. It's a little bit more difficult when the legs are extended. Holding it in boat pose. And then we're going to transition and take another vinyasa. Making sure you have enough room. Inhale to plank. Exhale through chaturanga. And then inhale, let's take cobra and stretch out the abs. Release. Tend to the fingers, a little bit of a deeper cobra. A little more of a stretch in the front body. Release. And then flowing through to down dog. And breathe in down dog. Take a couple breaths here, maybe walk out the feet if that feels good. Whatever shifts you need to make. And then on an exhale, hop or step forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release the head and neck, forward fold. And then inhale, rise all the way up, big swan dive. Hands back to your heart center. And then we're going to do a little bit of core work standing, which is exceptionally difficult in my opinion. So we're going to find our balance on one side. And first open it up, come to tree pose. Make sure that foot is either on the thigh or the calf, not on your knee. We don't want any pressure on the side of our knee. So if you're struggling with your balance, bring the foot down to your calf. Focus on opening the hip and keeping your balance. Hands come up over the head, and we're going to bring the knee in front, and then use all your core strength to extend that leg. Squeeze with the lower belly, squeeze with the quad, and then release and gentle step forward, hands back to your heart. Find your balance on the other side, bringing the knee around and finding tree. I want you to pretend like you're pushing your hips into an imaginary wall, which is forcing that knee back and opening up the front of your hips. Hands come back over the head, knee comes forward, maintain your balance, and squeeze as you extend that leg. Use the core, use your quad, use your strength, and release, stepping forward, back to the front of your mat, hands at your heart. Inhale up, exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release, and jumper step, flowing through a vinyasa. Once you come to down dog, inhale, one foot comes up. Exhale, bring it all the way through. And find warrior one. Reach through the fingers, open up that back hip. Sink a little deeper if you can. And then we're going to release the hands behind, interlocking the fingers, and open up the chest. Maybe draw the knuckles down the back thigh a little bit farther. Extend the front leg and fold out over the knee. Really squeezing with your quad, keeping that front knee strong so that you don't hyperextend. If you struggle with hyperextension, just play it safe and keep a little bit of a bend in the knee. Come back to warrior one, and then release down and take your vinyasa. You can always do cobra instead of up dog if you need a little bit of a break. That way you can rest more of your weight on the ground. From down dog, inhale, opposite foot comes up. Exhale, bring it through. And we're going to find warrior one on the other side. Taking a breath or two to sink into that front leg, open up that back hip. Really feel a great stretch in your hip flexor after all that ab work. And then let's find that interlock with the fingers, other thumb on top. Opening up the chest, growing the sternum towards the sky so that you're not collapsing in the lower back. And then extend the front leg and fold over. Knuckles go towards the sky as your shoulders allow. No judgment here if you need to keep the knuckles a little closer to your hips or your tailbone. Reach back up to warrior one, and then release, and again take that vinyasa. No judgment if you need to take a break and you need to take cobra instead of up dog. Use the abs, push back down dog, and breathe here. Using down dog as your resting, recovering pose. Long, deep breaths. On your next breath, we're going to jump or step to seated again. And then we're going to wind down with some really great stretches for all that core work we just did. So find a comfortable seated position. You can just take a typical cross-leg position. You can do lotus, half lotus, either way. Hands to the sky, and then one hand towards your hip resting on the ground. Other hand reaches up and over, stretching out your side. come back to center. Inhaling, finding length, and then exhaling, twist. Gentle twist, hand on the knee, maybe reaching the backhand all the way around and hooking it in your hip. Inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, twist. We never want to twist with a curved spine. No pressure on the discs in your spine. Back to center. Find boat, and then we're going to switch which leg was on top. Maybe a little fun in boat here first. So crossing the legs again, either opposite leg in front or opposite leg on top. And leaning over into that side bend, stretching the opposite side, reaching through the fingertips. One more breath, and come back to center. Inhale, bring the hands back up to the sky. Long spine, keep the length as you exhale and come into the twist. Maybe that back hand stays there for support, or maybe you hook it in your hip crease. Again, lengthen on the inhale, exhale, twist, and release. Hands come back to the sky, and we're going to find boat one more time, whatever variation you like. Maybe you have a little fun and try to pull the knees towards the forehead. It becomes so much more challenging to balance the closer you get the knees to the forehead. And then we're going to release and do a counter stretch coming into reverse plank, opening up the front of the body, not just the abs, but stretching out the hip flexors as well. And release back down to the ground. And gently roll one vertebrae at a time down, coming to a reclined position. Walk the heels in and tuck the tailbone up, pushing up into your first bridge. Shoulders roll under, maybe interlocking the fingers. Making sure the chin is not collapsing on the chest. We still want to have a nice long neck. Release the hands and exhale, slowly roll down. If you need to, you can windshield wiper the knees side to side if that's a little intense on your back. It should, for the most part, feel pretty good. Wheel is where it starts to get much more intense. But hey, sometimes you just need a release in the spine. Come back to a bridge position. This time we're going to take a supported bridge. You can keep the knees bent, or you can extend them like I am, which really opens up the hip flexors a lot. It's quite intense. So if that's not comfortable on your back, listen to your body and just take a supported bridge pose. If you want more, grab the elbows and bring the elbows over your head, stretching out the abs even more. Gently come back, supporting with the hands on either side of your hips, and then coming into a gentle inversion, bringing the feet towards the sky, resting the tailbone on the block so you have just a little bit more length. If you have really tight hamstrings, this is helpful because you can hold the legs more perpendicular with the sky or with the ground than if you had your hips resting on the ground. And of course, you can always find a wall. So if you would prefer to relax with your feet up the wall, that's perfectly fine. You just want to stay in the inversion for several breaths, giving your body the opportunity to recover and reverse all the effects of gravity. Go ahead and come back down onto the ground, removing the block and windshield wiping the feet or the knees once again, nice and slow. Drop them to one side and take a full cycle of breath. Maybe even 2 before you come back to center. Okay, so now preparing for wheel. You can come into wheel if that's in your practice, or you can always just take bridge pose again. If you're in wheel, you want to make sure that the toes are not splaying out to the sides. So kind of like we did in that Yogi Squat, we don't want them out to the sides. We want them parallel with your mat. Go ahead and make your way back down. And now we're going to bring the knees to the chest and recover. Rock side to side, massage out the spine. Maybe rock front to back. Whatever feels good for you on your back. Backs are so sensitive, so you really need to listen to your body and do what's best for you. Bring the feet back up towards the sky, and you can stay with the hips on the ground. You can grab a block like we did before, or you can come into a shoulder stand. And you can do a shoulder stand with your hands at your tailbone for support, maybe walking them a little higher up the body. Or you can challenge yourself and try to do an unsupported shoulder stand with the hands connected to the ground instead of supporting your back. Again, depends what's in your practice. Gently bring the feet over the head, coming into plow. Making sure you're still breathing. It's so easy to start to take shallow, quick breaths when you're in a constricting pose like this. So be really conscious of trying to slow the breath down, trying to take full inhales and exhales. And then with control, we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time, really, really slowly, using your abs, having control over the entire movement. Keep dropping the legs like a lever until you hit that 45-degree angle and then squeeze to come back up to boat pose. I know, you thought you were done, but we have one more boat pose. Maybe bringing the knees towards the forehead. And now I think we're finally done. So find a comfortable seated position. Again, you can do just regular cross-legged position. You can do lotus like I am. We're going to take a moment here. Stretch out your neck. Neck is so fragile. And plow can be a little intense, so we're going to stretch it out side to side and back. Maybe a few neck circles as feels comfortable for you. And then come back to center. And we're going to do one final core exercise. Push into the hands and lift your rear up off the ground. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I know it's challenging. You can always grab blocks if it's difficult to get off the ground. And release. Release the feet. Give them a little shake, especially if that's intense on your knees. If it hurts your knees, always skip it. And then we're going to roll down for our final pose of the day, Savasana. So relax in Savasana. Let the ankles roll open, knees and hips roll open. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades under the body if you need to. Let the fingers curl, and then relax your face, relax your jaw, relax any worry lines in your forehead. Pretend like there's little weights on your ears, and they're pulling your ears towards the ground, relaxing any tension in that space between your jaw and your temple. And then we're going to stay here and just breathe and recover. It was a challenging class. Lots and lots of core work. So take a moment to congratulate yourself on making it through. It's very impressive. Stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like, letting the breathing return to normal. If you're ready, we're going to start to reawaken the body. If you're not ready, feel free to stay in Shavasana. There's no rush. We're going to reawaken the body with a few wrist and ankle rolls, windshield wiper the knees and the wrists in opposite directions. Nice gentle twist just to reawaken the body. And eventually you're going to come back to center and make your way to a seated position. Maybe you rock up, or maybe you roll over to your side and push yourself to seated. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.